Hi everyone, welcome. Out here on the bench are a couple European nightcrawler worm bins, and today they have reached 100 days in service, so happy 100 days in service. And as you can imagine, the most sensible thing that would happen after their last feeding, which was feeding number 7, was that they ate. Get it? 7, 8. So yeah, last feeding was number 7, and today's feeding number 8 is going to be this big, huge pile of stuff, and it was so big of a pile that I was pretty nervous about placing the. I'm going to go careful here. The daily portion of coffee is resting on top of a pile, almost, yeah, definitely above the rim. And you know, the other day we talked about certain things that sort of end up on your wormery bench, and they become part of the furniture, and you start to even just not even realize that they're there to be fed to the worms. Well, these last two matzahs, something you normally don't see around here, but you know, I keep getting stuff from different places, and one family just happened to have some old matzahs, and I was down to those last two, and I don't even remember the last time I fed matzahs. So those last two were just sitting there waiting to be fed to some worms at some point. But they became invisible to me after a while, it seems. Look at all this nice top dressing of bedding we left here. This is a little different than I usually do. Usually it's just leaves out on the surface, but you can already see some of the regular prepared bedding of mine that I rested out here underneath the leaves. Usually I don't use my shredded paper cardboard mix as top dressing. I usually just do this top dressing thing with leaves. But I figured last time I would try changing it up a little bit. And that leaves us with this really nice quantity of really nice bedding. Nice big quantity of nice bedding. We're going to blend all that stuff in, I think. That's the best way to go. Oh, look at that. I peel a little bit of it back and you can spot a couple worms hanging out near the surface. I think they like having this sort of stuff to play around in. Let's go down the center there. The coffee filters I removed a moment ago, they're just marking where we last fed, following my typical pattern of just opening up a little feeding zone down the middle, a shallow trench into which we drop the feeding. The last feeding was bundled into little pieces of paper, so the food was wrapped for them with the idea that the material that we used to wrap it, which I think in this case might have been napkins, just based on what I'm seeing here. I guess the idea was that the yummy foods would drench the wrapping paper and make the paper kind of the equivalent to a piece of food. Ooh, look at that. We just bumped into the, I guess, the food bundle that they are currently enjoying a lot. Whatever was in that other food bundle might have been even better because it's all gone. But it does seem like they've come over to this food bundle over here. But you know, I can never resist trying to take a really large object like that, what we saw there, and try to fragment it up a little bit if possible. I'm going to assume that the majority of what's in my hand is worms, but I can't say for sure. Let's let some stuff drop off and see. Well, I can feel things in there that are not worms, but a good bit of what I'm holding is. Let's just check them out for a moment and we'll return them to their space momentarily, because we're more or less set to give them their next feeding. A pretty good size little pit that we opened up, although I don't know, might have to make it bigger because I do have a good bit of food to give them today. There's probably a lump of paper in here too that we can help fragment a bit. Look at all these worms. Alright, I definitely broke up a party, and whatever they were doing in there must have included nibbling away at the paper that was enclosing the food bundle that was there. So here we go. I made a little bit more space. That should be plenty for popping in today's food. and bedding. I was going to do food bundles again, actually. I was looking at my little collection that I have over there. It's not even so little anymore. It keeps growing. Is a pretty good sized collection of coffee filters. So I figured if food bundles seemed to work last time, and they do seem to have worked pretty good here, then we would do it again. And, well, I guess that first food bundle we pulled up was similar to the first one we pulled up over in the first bin, but more shredded. Didn't require me to fragment it up. And well, do we have another worm party happening here? Sure looks that way. Here we might have some tearing up of paper to do. Have a little bit of shredding to do here, or not. Maybe not. Oh no, here we got a pretty good sized hunk, which to me seems like a good candidate for getting a little bit of help. Yeah, look at that. Whole bunch of paper, which has clearly been protecting itself, kind of folded over on itself. And by exposing more of it to worm traffic, hopefully we're increasing the rate at which it gets consumed by the wormies. Yeah, good turnout in both feeding zones. I do wonder if they went into one of those food bundles and cleared it out and then went to the other one. It almost does seem that way to me, because one looked like it was already a done deal for the most part, empty, and then the other one was loaded with so many worms. So guess what? We've got replacement coffee filters that can become our new feeding zone indicators. So why don't we upgrade the old ones to serving a more noble function of accompanying today's meal. And besides the replacement feeding zone indicators, I've got that nice collection of coffee filters into which we can start placing their foods. But, you know, before I forget, let's get these lovely items down on the bottom. I'm putting them in dry because I'm assuming that all of this fruity matter, it's all banana peels and apple peels. I'm assuming now that it's been thawing for a little while, I could already see some moisture collecting on it. My guess is that as the breakdown process and the thawing process occurs with this feeding, it's going to sufficiently dampen those matzahs, and then we shouldn't have to worry too much about it. Oh, I didn't get a chance to do quality control and remove stickers. Oh boy. This might just have to be one of those systems where I end up screening the materials to make sure I exclude any sort of large fragments of debris that doesn't belong. I actually went through the material that was from my most recent harvest and screened it, and ended up with some really fine stuff. And then I ended up with some some boulders too. And you know, I totally spaced out on creating bundles. My hope had been to create little bundle wraps from today's feeding. I always somehow managed to distract myself just enough to not follow my script. You know what it was? It was the stickers that distracted me this time. And Airhead me doesn't even remember what it was that distracted me from 2 seconds ago. But this time I was reminded by spotting another one. So we'll just try to make up for my lapse in attention by trying to recover. It's not too late, I think. Sometimes when I'm still presented with an opportunity such as this to recover from a blender, I'll take it, but if I've already gone like one larger step ahead, there's no going back after that. Alright, I'm running a little low on grit, so I wasn't planning on adding any grit, but we could be pretty generous with the bedding. So we've already put feeding zone indicator down there, a couple additional coffee filters, and now, besides lovely prepared bedding of mine getting sprinkled over the feeding, we're going to top off by putting some leaves out on the surface, similar to the way we found the place when we first arrived. And what I usually like to do with those leaves is blend them in, make them all part of the bedding. Good portions of this bedding are pretty much already quite dark, adding a little bit of leafy matter to it, especially leafy matter that's been sitting out on the surface. And oh yeah, let's not forget, it's not just leafy matter. The application of top dressing last time was also shredded paper cardboard. So nice combo, different types of bedding going in everywhere. And I would think that those apple peels are going to go pretty quick. The banana peels, well, it's a little bit tougher for them to work down, but they'll eventually get through that stuff as well. I wonder how many scraps of bedding, paper type stuff we're going to find in here when we come back next time. You know, we're giving them so much of that type of stuff in here on this feeding that they're going to have plenty to choose from, and we'll probably still have some leftovers of it next time we come back in here. But this was a fun day 100 check-in with these little guys. We definitely ran into two good-sized worm parties, one in each system, when we unearthed whichever of those food bundles had the really delicious food item in it. Kind of makes me want to go back and revisit the video from last time, because all I really did was scrub through it super quick, zip, zip, just to be able to see what we did there. And, well, I just pushed the leaves away from myself briefly. So hopefully it doesn't result in me forgetting to lay them down now. I just wanted to put the feeding zone indicators in here, the nice new replacement feeding zone indicators. And then in can come the promised leafy matter. I mean, after all, we're on day 100. We got to pull out all the stops. Like I said, no grit today, but I'm usually very generous with the grit, so these systems of mine, especially a system like this that's up to feeding number 8 already on day 100, has probably seen plenty of grit, so we have nothing to worry about as far as them having what they need from that point of view. So that brings us to the end of the check-in, everyone, with the European night crawlers. These are the guys that used to work on wool for us. But I've been working hard to try to shed the old persona of being the wool fabric composting Euros and focus on whatever's in the future for them. And day 100 seemed like a good distraction from bringing up the past and focusing more on the future. So I've got a few things to take care of around here. So what's in my future is cleaning up and putting away, but that's boring. I'm not going to waste time with that. Before I go really quick, let me just say thank you. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, as always, please don't forget to leave me a quick thumbs up before I go. That's always really appreciated. And if you haven't done so already, please also consider subscribing to the channel. That's very much appreciated as well. All right, everyone, have a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye now.